everybody. Welcome to the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert. Today we have a special friend of the Jerusalem Connection, Igal Hecht of Chutzpa Productions, a longtime friend of Shelley Neese. And we have Igal here today to discuss some extremely important work he's doing post October 7 regarding telling the stories of the victims in Israel. A lot of stories are yet untold or unexamined that are very important. So Igal, we invite you here today to share with our audience what you've been working on and how we can help, and also to thank you for your continued efforts in helping the Jerusalem Connection when we are engaging in content production. So we want to highlight and thank Chutzpa Production and Igal for his talent, but really focus on this particular documentary he's building called The Killing Roads, which I will let Igal share with you.
Hi, Phil. First of all, thank you so much for having me. And really happy to be here. And in terms of The Killing Roads, so The Killing Roads is a film that I've basically wanted to make a few weeks into, post October 7th, when I realized that a lot of the stories were focusing on the Nova party and the atrocities that happened in the Kibbutzim, and rightfully so. But no one was really focusing on what happened on the roads. In fact, 250 people died on the roads, specifically Road 232 and Road 34. A lot of people who just were randomly out on that Saturday morning, some of them, running, biking. It was a beautiful Saturday morning, and they were caught and they were murdered by Hamas terrorists and Islamic Jihad terrorists. So the film focuses on what happened on the atrocities that occurred on that road. I just came back from Israel, where we filmed a large portion of the film. We're still going to go back to Israel later this year, and we interviewed survivors, families of victims, first responders, and also some survivors of the Nova Party, where their specific story happens on that stretch of a road. And through those testimonials, we're hoping to show exactly what happened on that day, and just to also show the brutality, the unbelievable brutality of these Palestinian terrorist savages, because that's what these people were. They weren't freedom fighters. They weren't anything along those lines. They were just savages. And it's not fair to call them animals, because it's not fair to the animals. These people were just, what they did was horrific. And the problem is that, again, Nova, and not the problem, let me rephrase that. The issue is that Nova and the Kibbutzim sort of overtook the story, but the sheer brutality on the road, the fact that they executed people on the spot. Not only did they shoot cars, right? They set up ambushes, and every Hamas or Islamic Jihad unit had 20 to 30 people set up in these junction points, and any car that passed got shot at. So it didn't matter. And they set up these ambushes. And once they killed the people, they went car by car, making sure to shoot them again and do other things. The sheer brutality was unbelievable. And what's also unbelievable is all of these individuals who are denying all of this, denying the fact that they did this, when Hamas, in fact, isn't denying it, when Hamas, in fact, filmed all of this. The footage that we have is footage that we obtain through Hamas's channels, their Telegram channels, their WhatsApp channels, etc. They live broadcasted this. They filmed this on their GoPro cameras. Every unit had a GoPro camera. When you start to realize what happened on the roads and how all of this took part, imagine 5,000 terrorists, 3,000 to 5,000 terrorists, basically coming into Israel, divided into teams of 70 to 100 people on motorbikes and Toyota trucks. Each Toyota truck has like 10 to 15 people on it. And they basically just spread all over Road 232. And Road 232 is the main artery of the south of Israel. And that's what happened. That's really the entire story. Once they took the road over, that was it. Nobody could drive there. Anybody who was moving there got shot. And so that's really what the movie focuses on. That's what we hone in on. And the footage that we have is some footage that people who have searched for this footage most likely have seen, but also footage that has never been seen. from various sources, and you really get a clear picture of what occurred on that day, and the sheer savagery, but also the triumph of individuals who survived, and also individuals who risked everything to save people. So we give you a very clear perspective of every single kind of story that took place on that road. It's also important to note, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, this wasn't done over a period of 24 hours. 1,200, around 1,200, even more than 1,200 people died that day, 250 on the road. But most of the killing occurred within 5 to 6 hours. Most of the brutality occurred within the 5 to 6 hours. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't understand that this was the largest murder of Jews since the Holocaust. But the savagery and the speed in which the savagery took place, even the Nazis didn't do it in the same way. We interviewed some paramedics who told us about, people are denying the beheadings. No, they were beheadings. We have one paramedic who basically told us, I got 2 bodies without heads. But it wasn't just also the beheadings. It was the severed limbs, the various body parts, the rapes. All of this occurred in a span of 5 to 6 hours. These people were brutal savages. I think for whatever reason, the progressive left and the woke insanity that unfortunately has taken over North America have tied themselves to rapists and murderers, and they're praising them as some sort of heroes, as much as recently, 48 hours ago, or Iran has attacked Israel with 350 various projectiles of drones and ballistic missiles. Sure, they didn't succeed in killing thousands of Jews, but it's not for lack of trying. And this is what the problem is, that you have progressive who claim to be for women's rights, who claim to be for human rights, and yet when it comes to Jewish rights, they're all about celebrating the murder of Jews, the murder and rape of Jews. And it's the most vile, disgusting thing in the world. And it also shows you how far and how corrupt and how just vile the progressive movement in North America has become.
Igal, you bring up an interesting point, because in North America, we haven't had warfare on our soil in the Civil War, I guess, was the last time, besides 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. But when we think of war, we think of sort of this impersonal, you drop a bomb on a building and people die, even civilians. This was 1,200 people, innocent civilian population that were killed in the span of a few hours, like you mentioned, up close and personal, right? The killing was hand-to-hand combat, so to speak, in terms of, even when they shot them, they were pretty much at point-blank range. Among the other things they did to people that required them to personally, attack with their hands, with their bodies. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we talk about October 7th. It wasn't just some bombing, like even what Iran attempted to do last weekend. As awful as that is, that's an impersonal way to murder Jews or anybody. But what happened on the 7th was a very passionate way to Jews.
Murder.
They just wanted to murder as many people as possible. You hear it, right? I mean, I think everybody who's been following the story heard the Palestinians audio where they call their parents and they're so happy that they murdered Jews. I mean, that's the society you're dealing with. And people want to frame it, this started in 48, please. That's complete. Insert whatever word you want to insert in here. And so this was extremely personal to them. They wanted to murder as many people as possible. But beyond that, they also raped dozens and dozens of women and men. This was to inflict the most damage they can possibly can. This is deranged Islam. This is fundamental Islam to its core, right? If you look at what ISIS did to the Yazidi people, and I know that for a fact because I also made a movie about that a few years ago, what ISIS did in northern Iraq and Syria is the exact same thing that Hamas did. So why is it that progressives came out strongly against ISIS, the rapes, the murders, the beheading, and yet here you have progressive donning on the keffiyeh and celebrating the rapes, the murder, the beheading? What is the core difference here? The core difference is simple. They're Jews. And it's somehow within progressive circles become legitimate to celebrate the rape and murder of Jews. Also, not to mention the most barbaric ways, the burning of bodies. You know, we have visuals of burned bodies. So they would kill people in the cars on the road, and then they would burn the car. It was
a special level of effort, you know,
Oh my
not
God,
just
yeah.
not just like as you said in World War II when the Nazis lined people up and shot them and they went. As horrific as that is, this is an extra level of personal. I need to
Absolutely.
inflict as much harm and pain onto.
It's possible. Yeah.
Bloodthirsty.
Yeah. Full on bloodthirst. It's full on bloodthirst, and people are are excusing their actions. And it's the only in modern day, this is the only time where savage terrorism on this level, on this scale, is excused and celebrated on the streets of the United States, on the streets of Canada, on various campuses. Like these progressive professors, these left-leaning professors are celebrating rape. These musicians and actors are celebrating and excusing rape and murder. Even if you disagree with Israel, even if you disagree with the so-called quote-unquote occupation, which I disagree with that term, but let's run with that notion, okay? You're celebrating, excusing, and justifying rape and murder. That takes some special kind of human being to look themselves in the mirror and to think that they are progressive. They're not progressive. They're not progressive at all. They're savages. They're savages, and they're the new way in which Nazism is being spread. This hatred of the Jews is being spread in North America. And that's really what people need to be aware of, and that's what people need to really fight against. And the only way to fight against it is by factually showing what happened on that day, and not being afraid to show it, and not being afraid to stand up to these people.
And Igal, that brings us to the reason why we wanted to share what you're doing with our network and our community. Igal has a production company. He's made dozens of movies over the years. It's the way he earns his living. But this particular movie, The Killing Roads, Igal is doing as a labor of love. And we are helping him. We want to help him raise the money to cover the actual costs of making the film so that he can release it for free on apparatus on the computer so that people can see it without having to pay for it. Igal, why don't you tell us a little bit about the timing, what you're planning for the timing, and how you would distribute it if we can get these funds raised to cover those production costs. And I'm also, while Igal's doing that, we will be sharing the link that you can go to help contribute so that we can get this released to the public for free. Igal, tell us about your plan and your timing for that plan.
Right. So one of the reasons I wanted to make this film is because I think it's crucial. It's important to make sure that people see the reality of what occurred on that day, and especially here in North America. And I haven't really had troubles getting my films broadcasted here in Canada, specifically where I live, over the years. However, when it comes to this specific film, it's been, don't talk to us, nobody's interested, we don't want to fund it, from a variety of broadcasters here in Canada and the grants. And it didn't shock me and surprise me. And it didn't shock me, it did surprise me to what level people are just refusing to make this film happen. And so I decided, well, that's not going to stop me. It never has in the past. And so I went to Israel I self-funded it so far. And I decided that the best way to really get this movie out there is to share it for free with everybody. We live in a society, in a world where we want to see content for free, let's be honest, or at least pay a subscription and then have thousands of movies we can see. But if but what stops anybody from making a film and just airing it on the biggest broadcasters that there are, which is the various social media platforms? We're talking YouTube, we're talking X, and we're talking Facebook, X being Twitter. And so my plan is that on the weekend of October 7th, which will be October 5th, 6th, and 7th of 2024, we will release the film for free of charge for anybody and everybody to watch it. We'll share it with you so you can share it with all your followers. And so people can simply log on YouTube, on Facebook, or on X. And we'll also have a website via Vimeo dedicated to it, where they can watch it for those 3 days for free. Because the goal is to really get the film out there as much as possible. And to do that, broadcaster is limited. Even Netflix is limiting to some extent. If you don't have Netflix, you can't watch it. But if you have YouTube, which we all do, and if you have Facebook, which most of us do, and if you have X, which the majority of people do,
or you can get it for free if you don't have it already.
Or you could log on to our Vimeo link or website that we'll establish for this, just for that weekend. You're able to watch it. And that's the goal. The goal is to really get this information out there to as many people as possible. The ego is taken out of the equation here. The film festivals, the other broadcasters, that doesn't matter, because this is the kind of film that needs to be shown around the world. And films like this too, whether it's Supernova by Dookie Dror, that's now making the festival and the campus circuit in the US, or Nova that Yes TV in Israel did. These are important films that are out there, and people are able to watch them for free, or at least one of them for free, because it really gives you an understanding of what occurred on the 7th. Those films deal with, Nova. My film deals with the roads. Other films will come out and deal with the other stories. These are crucial films to A, support, and B, showcase. Because if we don't, what's going to happen is these neo-Islamo-fascist Nazis and their supporters who are walking the streets of North America screaming in Arabic, "Kill the Jews," celebrating the Iranian regime, are going to win. And if the truth and facts aren't shared with people, they're going to assume that what they're saying is true. And what they're saying are complete and utter lies. How do I know that they're complete and utter lies? Because Hamas filmed everything they did. They were so proud of themselves. They were so proud of their barbaric 6th century mindset that they broadcasted it all to the world and they filmed it all. And so this is why I am making this film, and this is why I hope people help support us in making this film, because we really want to get it to the entire world for free on the 7th, so people get a sense of what happened. And after the 7th, we're hoping the film gets into festivals. The film, makes the campus circuit and other sort of circuits out there, whether it's synagogues, churches, what have you, because the new, just as there was Holocaust denial, the new denial is this October 7th denial. So it started the first day right after, and as the New York Times came out after 3 months with their reports, suddenly, there were rapes, but it was isolated, and Israel actually killed those people by firing on them. The denial kind of switched and moved and morphed itself, because every time you prove that they're lying, they morph into some new kind of a denial. And that's why it's important to I think, support these kind of projects. Obviously, I have a bias. I also want my project supported, but even if it's not my project, support other projects that deal with this, because that's the only way to combat these liars and these savages.
Yeah, I think the best and most important way, the first step in fighting evil is to look it directly in the face. And so
Absolutely.
I think that's where people can take a step towards just their general Israel activism and fighting Hamas by watching something like this first. And then we at Jerusalem Connection are happy to engage all people that want to take their Israel activism the next step. But I think the first step is to just look this evil in the face and identify it as evil.
Yeah.
And
And
to
it's
that
pure
end,
evil.
yeah, our network can help Igal get that film out to the public. Igal is a long-term friend of the Jerusalem Connection, so we want to continue to support his work, and he often continues to support our work if we need help with content creation. So his heart is with us in our mission, and our heart is with him in his mission, and that's why we want to partner up and have you all help get the Killing Roads to fruition, to post-production, so that it can be released on the anniversary weekend for all of you to see, and tell others in your networks to see it, as it's available for that solemn anniversary. Igal, is there anything else that we can share with our audience that you would like us to know? Again, I'll be sharing the link, the GoFundMe link, where you can watch a trailer and make your contribution.
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope people take a look. We have the trailer up there, and we have a few other scenes that I know you've shared on social media that I kind of uploaded a few days ago. And there'll be updates throughout as we continue making this film. And I'm appreciative of every person who is even thinking of donating and contributing to our GoFundMe, and who will contribute it. And and you know, and even if you don't contribute to this film, if there are other films about the seventh, I hope you do support those films, because this is going to be the next few years of battling the distortion and the lies about Israel that often come, unfortunately, from the woke progressive left. I truly hope that somebody on that side of the political aisle wakes up and realizes how far down the anti-Semitic rabbit hole they've gone.
Well, I want to encourage everybody to stay tuned to the Jerusalem Connection social media sites, and we will actually have Igal on again in the coming weeks and months to update us on his progress and other discoveries he may make. And we just want to continue to pray for the peace of Israel, to offer comfort and aid to the Jewish people and to Israel, and to remind everybody that Am Israel Chai.
Am Israel Chai.
I'm so fine.
Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Igal.
Thank you.